days a week. Why 7 days? Because we're building habits, and habits don't build in 5 days. They build in 60 days, uninterrupted, right? So we're not going to interrupt until we're rock solid. Once you're rock solid, I don't care how many days a week you set, as long as you get your numbers done, right? But while you're building the habit, we're going to build that habit the right way. So remember, KPIs need to be done every day. We're setting 3 and we're getting 6 starting today. Every day, we're setting 3 personally set appointments. That is not for those of you who build teams. I see some of you from my former company here. You guys are team builders. That don't count what they set for you. That's extra. Okay. This is you setting for you. Okay. Because guess what? You need to be the model that you're going to duplicate into other people. If everybody's looking for everybody else to do the work, that don't work, right? Everybody needs to be self-sufficient. So we're going to set 3 and we're going to get 6 every day this week. We're going to update our docs every day. Now, Linda, if you're setting 3 appointments a day for 7 days, we should have about 21 appointments set for the week, give or take. Now, it won't always be exact. Sometimes you set them for further out. Sometimes you set them for the same day. But we're going to do these things every day. If you're confused at all about how the tools work, go back and rewatch the tutorial on how the tools work. After, everybody type after in the chat. Okay, after you have watched that, if you are still confused, you can send Rick a message and ask him about it. Okay, but do not send him a message prior to watching it. Y'all understand, right? Like, people spoon feeding you stuff doesn't make you a leader. It makes you dependent on the feeder, right? Does that make sense? I'm not making dependent people. I'm making independent leaders know how to make money at will. That's what we're making here, right? And so I want you to get that done. So any questions at all on the tools that we need to address right now before we move forward? Going once, going twice. Okay.
Real quick. The tools, the KPI, all that, like, do we do that morning, evening? Does it matter?
I don't care when you do it. I preferred to do it in the morning. The reason I preferred to do it in the morning is that I was up driving my business with the data that I needed for the day. If I did it at the end of the day, I went all day without having any usable information about where I was. That's just me personally. I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot whether you do it at night or in the morning, whatever works for you. That was mine. Great question. Kent, did you have
Hey,
another?
real quick.
Hey, brother.
Yep. Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to make sure I got my name added to the doc because I checked before, it wasn't on there yet, so I couldn't.
Yeah, Rick will get you on. Yeah, Rick will get you on.
Perfect.
You were like
Thank you.
last second ad. Kent made it by the skin of his teeth here.
By the skin of my teeth, brother.
Anybody else have questions on this? Okay, very good. Activity is everything. Activity is everything. Activity is everything. It is the first place that we are working, and it is the place where we're going to make the biggest difference the fastest. Remember, you're going to see approximately a 2-week lag between increased activity and increased production. There's just a lag time. You set something today for Friday, you go run an initial appointment, you go back, close it next Tuesday, you're a week out from today before that result comes. Most people in financial services are doing the right thing, but they stop because the distance between cause and effect is too great for them to draw that line. Okay, so I just need you to understand you're going to have a 2-week delay. You're going to have a 2-week delay. So we're going to do a lot of work up front, and you're going to feel like, gosh, I'm working really hard. I'm being very disciplined. I'm not swimming in money yet. Just wait, give it a couple of weeks. You will be swimming in money from the activity that you build up there. So I'm going to draw you guys something here that's really important that you understand. Again, I want you to understand what you're trying to build so that we can build the right thing here together. Y'all should be able to see my remarkable. Give me a thumbs up when you see that. Okay, good, very good. So what I'm going to draw you here is the income funnel. This is the process by which all of your money gets made in this business, okay? So at the very top of the funnel are your prospects, right? This is the raw material to present to, okay? You cannot close what you don't have set. You cannot set people you do not have, okay? So it starts with prospects. And then we've got reach out. We've got to reach out to those people. Any of you have a list of prospects, but you haven't set appointments with them, okay? You're skipping part 2. Okay, so we got to reach out to them. On that reach out, we need to set the appointment. Okay. Then we need to complete the appointment. And then we need to close the appointment. And there is your bag of money at the bottom. This is the flow that everything goes through. Now notice, where do you see more training on here? Where do you see reading a self-development book on here? Where do you
Well,
see hanging out at the office with your three buddies slurping coffee on here? Nowhere, because it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's a lot of things in the business that we're not going to talk about here because they don't matter as it relates to making money. Okay, this is what matters at making money. So let me give you some numbers. Okay, this should be 50 to 70 new prospects per week on top of 1,000 names list. If you have not done the 1,000 names list, we have put the audio in the group. You need to listen to it. You need to start doing it. Okay, I promise you, if you do not listen, no, listen. Oh, go back to kindergarten. Who do I remember? Oh, I remember Tim. I remember my teacher, Miss Brode. I remember this person. I remember. Do the exercise. You will have thousands of people on your list, more people than you could ever talk to. And that's important, right? Because you take two people with the same opportunity. One has 50 people on the list. One has 5,000 people on the list. The 50 person is in their head till no end. What if I say something wrong? What if they don't like this? What if they say that? What if they find out I'm doing this and they don't like it? And then they tell their neighbor who's also on my list. And what if I need these people? We operate out of lack and need. When we have 5,000 people on the list, next, we don't care what they say, right? We want to operate out of abundance, not out of scarcity. Okay, so we're going to have 1,000 names list and 50 to 70 new prospects per week. Okay, we're going to reach out. Reach outs are going to start at 1 hour a day. Okay, so most of you do not have scheduled appointment setting time in your calendar. I know that because of where your income is. You try to get it done sporadically throughout the day, right? And that doesn't work. This is the most important thing as it relates to generating income in your business. Therefore, it needs to be treated as such, which means it gets booked in your calendar, not in your brain, in your calendar. It goes in your calendar. Okay. And then nothing crosses it, Kent. We don't run appointments during that time. We don't go to a field trip with our kid during that time. That is setting time. At least 1 hour or until your sets are done. How many sets are we doing this week? 3 a day. So if it only takes you 15 minutes, do you spend the other 45 minutes, Angie, twiddling your thumbs? No, you just move on to whatever's next. But if it takes you 50 minutes, you don't get to stop after 15. That's the key, right? You all know how to do this. You just don't have a process and a rhythm and the right accountability. You stop after you set 1 or 2 instead of after you set 3 to 5. That's the only thing you're missing here, right? So we have to build that. Okay, so we're going to reach out for 1 hour a day. It's going to get scheduled. Here's your homework. I need every one of you to screenshot a picture of your schedule and throw this into the group tonight, showing that you have a recurring hour booked in your schedule. Okay, for setting. And then you don't get to cross it. And so then what happens, Robert, is this. You either do your sets or you twiddle your thumbs and stare out the window in objection to setting them. But if you have the time booked and you make up your mind that I don't get to put other things here, then you got nothing to do for that hour, brother, but set your appointments. And that's what we need. That is the level of self-discipline we need because most of you are fantastic at filling your day with stuff that doesn't make you money. Right? Pretty simple. All we're doing is subbing non-income generating for income generating. And what I'm going to teach you, it's going to be a little bit of a bear at first, but I promise you 90 days in, this is going to be like clockwork to you. You're going to do it in 1/3 of the time that it takes you now. And it's going to be way more productive and way more profitable. You're going to make a ton more money than you're making now. Okay. So we're going to set, how many are we setting today? A minimum of 3. If you're already setting 3 or more, then add 3. Some of you might already be doing that. Then add 3 new, 3 more than you're setting now currently. Okay, 3 a day or 3 more, you pick. Okay, but it's a minimum of 3. The other thing I need you to understand is you should have an 80% conversion ratio. What does that mean? It means that 8 out of every 10 people you interact with, Linda, set an appointment with you. What are your ratios now? Do any of you track them? They're probably not that high. But when we track them, now we know where they are and we know how to improve that. That's important because if you only set 20% of the people you talk to, Paul, you got to talk to 4 times more people. Right? And so we want to see people, but we also want to be somewhat efficient. You follow? Okay. Complete rate and close rates, those are our minimums. 40, 40. 40, 40. So remember the math problem or the formulas that I showed you last week? Okay. So activity times complete times close equals results. Right? So if this is 40 and this is 40, those are our minimums. So let's say we got 20 appointments. We complete 40%, that's 8. We close 40%, that's 3. 3 closes a week off your own pen, regardless of anything that comes in set for you by other people. That's $100,000 a year in personally generated income. That's at a minimum amount, right? When this goes to 40 and these go to 60, now you're closing 20, 25 pieces of business. Linda, some of my individual coaching clients are literally the top personal producers in the history of their businesses, right? Like better than anybody else that has ever been out of millions of people, okay? And this is how they do that. This is the exact process. So we get really, really focused on working this funnel and hitting our numbers. Okay. And this is uncomfortable, Paul, because most people want to feel like they're trying, but not look at the numbers to figure out where their problem is so that they don't actually have to get better and improve. They just feel like they're working and it's not working for them. That is going to go away, Maha. It's not happening. We're going to see where you're not very good. And then we're going to fix that once and for all so that you're a killer at all the things you need to be great at. And when you are, money is the byproduct of that. Money is the byproduct. Okay. So I want you all to understand what you're building and why it's important. So let me give you just some mindset stuff really quickly that I think is important. The first thing I want you to ask yourself, and I need you to be very, very honest, Richard, how do you feel about reach outs and appointment setting? How do you feel about that? Okay. And the reason I'm asking is this, I never liked it. It wasn't something that I enjoyed doing. But I also truly believed that it would help the people I was meeting. Okay. So I knew if you didn't meet with me, that was going to be a big disservice to you in your life. I knew that without the information I was going to share with you, you had basically no hope financially. You're going to be in debt up to your eyeballs. You probably would never retire. Your family's probably super unprotected. I knew that. And so while I didn't like setting the appointments, Paul, I did feel a responsibility to set them. I need you all to write that word down, responsibility. Do you feel that you have a responsibility to set these appointments? Or do you feel like you're bothering people, or they're not going to be interested, or they're going to think you're salesy? What do you really feel about what you're doing? Right? Because a mentor of mine said it was a feel good, do good business. If you feel good about what you're doing, you're going to do a lot more of it. And so this is the objection you get is the objection you hold in everything in life, right? When you're getting an objection over and over again, it's probably because you have that objection down inside of you somewhere that you have not addressed. So let's get over that. Let's get rid of the yeah buts and let's understand if I don't see these people, nobody's going to see these people. They're going to be financially destitute without me. It is my responsibility. It is my duty. It is my moral obligation to sit with you and to share this information with you. Now, it's not my responsibility to make you interested. It's not my responsibility to close you, although I'm going to try to influence that. My only responsibility is to share it with you. That's my responsibility. Okay? Y'all understand that? We need to feel that way. And then when people are nasty with you or rude or they unschedule or whatever, right? That ain't having anything to do with you. Right? That's them saying no to them and to their future and to the things that you're going to help them with. Has nothing to do with you. This mindset helped me enormously to be able to set purposefully and to go through some of the challenges that I went through along the way because I had the right perspective. Here's the fact, Randy, if people knew what you were going to do for them, if they knew that you were going to get them out of debt 10 years early, if they knew you were going to put an extra 500 grand in their retirement account, if they knew you were going to better protect their family, cut their costs in half, they'd be calling you. But they don't know that. That's why you get paid so much money. And if you're not getting paid so much money right now, it's because you're not sharing that with enough people. And that's what we're going to fix. You understand that? Okay. So they knew what you knew, they would do what you do. Okay. So we're not going to get frustrated when people don't answer or they're whatever. We're just going to keep moving. Next, right? Next. Okay. I need you to pick up one other thing. In every interaction, somebody is buying and somebody is selling, including appointment setting. Randy, I call you. I'm selling you on meeting with me, or you're selling me on why you don't need to. But one of us is going to sell and one of us is going to buy. Type not for sale in the chat. You are not for sale. You're not. Well, my uncle who's a billionaire helped me set it up. That's great. When can we get together and I'll get his info as a referral after I help you, right? Like, I don't care what you say to me. My job is to get an appointment with you. That's my job, right? I don't care what you say. I'm not for sale. So we need to approach this with the same idea, right? That whatever it is you say, that does not qualify as a reason you don't need to get my information, right? Listen, y'all, I would set appointments with people who met with people who worked for my firm. And I didn't care because it wasn't me. They're not going to do as good of a job as I am. They're not as knowledgeable as I am. They're not as big of a pro as I am. They're not as well structured as I am. I'm going to do a better job. And I needed to have that belief. And you've got to have that belief as well. Okay. So who has y'all's money? Where's that next 100K sitting? You know where it is? It's on your list. Those people have your money. You got to call them and get it. Right? That's our job. They have the money. We're going to call them and get that money. And we're going to trade them value and valuable products and services for that money. Okay. So any questions thus far on prerequisite for making sure those sets are crushing it right now? Jennifer, do you have an itch or you have a question?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned you want a screenshot to have in our calendar of the hour of the reach outs. Is there a preferred time for that? Morning, afternoon?
It's a great question. So you are my structure and organized person on here, aren't you? Okay. So yeah, so I always prefer to have my income generating activity done before noon. Why? Two reasons. Number one is I was much less likely to get interrupted. The later in the day you put things, the more opportunity you have for interruptions in your day. Right? It's just more time has elapsed. Number two, it was my most important thing. And so if I can always get my most important things done first, it really doesn't matter how much I get done of other things that day. Right? Because by default, I always got the most important thing done. So I was never off track. If little things didn't get done, they can wait. If the big things don't get done, you go broke. Right? So first things first. So I wanted to get it done early. By the way, here's a couple of free cheats on this. Okay. If you want to make this fun, and that's what I did, by the way, it wasn't fun. I made it fun. Here's a couple of things you can do, right? You can play against yourself. How long will it take you to get your 3 today, Randy? So it took me an hour and 5 minutes. Great. Can you play again tomorrow to beat that time? What about the next day? Can you beat it again? Can you beat it again? Now, can we see how long does it take me to get an extra one, right? Can you find somebody else in the group and play them on a daily basis? Hey, I'll challenge you today, first to however many set. I made games out of the work, so it didn't feel like work. Okay, so there's a couple of cheats there for you that'll help you a ton. Just make it fun because it's not fun. Right? Y'all look at people like me and you think this guy just was born. He came out of the womb setting appointments with people and he just loved it. I didn't like it any more than you like it, but I loved the result of it. And so I was willing to love the process because of the result. Does that make sense? Like you can love things and people without having to like them all the time. Right. And that's the same with this. You can love it without having to like it. Any other questions so far on this? This is prerequisite stuff. We got to get clear. Okay. So what is an appointment? Let's start there. An appointment is a time, a date, and a location to give a presentation. Why do we need to go over this? Because people get real inventive when you start trying to force them to do the work. They turn into rationalizing like doctorates, right? Like they become the kings and queens of rationalization. So it's like, oh, I'm going to visit my grandma who's 98 because I haven't seen her in a while. I'll just count that as an appointment, right? Like that's a time, date, and location to give a presentation, right? Well, I'm going to see some people at the barbecue. Maybe I'll just bring it up. That's an appointment. Well, there's 22 people that are going to be there. So that's 22 appointments. No, that's a time and a date and a place, but you're not presenting, right? So that doesn't count. So time, date, location to give a presentation about what you do, right? To a remotely qualified prospect. So your 98-year-old grandma, she ain't the one, right? Like she can't buy. She's not gonna be your person, okay? So we need to dial in on what that is, okay? And so here's the problems. Okay. So yeah, interviews count for sure. But so Tim, just understand if you want to book interviews, for those of you in recruiting business, at least some of you are there, interviews are fine, but remember, interviews are a pathway to money. And it's a very long pathway to money. And it's one that's not easily duplicatable. Okay. So watch this. I call today Linda. Linda, are you married? Unmute yourself.
Yes,
Okay, do you have kids?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So you're in market. I call Linda. I give Linda the script to come over and show her what I'm doing. I sit down, I present to Linda. Linda's going to buy or she's not going to buy. That was the process to money. I make a call, I do a presentation, she buys or doesn't buy. Here is that if you're trying to recruit an agent. I find the prospect, I call them, I set an appointment, I convince them to join, I get them to come back and watch some sort of onboarding. I get them to set appointments with people. I got to get on that appointment. I give the presentation and then I make money. So you took a 2-step process, you made it a 10-step process. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's slow. Okay. Also, for those of you in the recruiting business, I want you to understand 2 things. Every single one of your people has a destiny. It is one of 2 places. They quit and leave and stop generating revenue for you, or they get independent of you and do not need you to continue generating revenue. Either way, at some period of time, that person is what? Gone off of your calendar. And what you will be left with was what you were producing underneath. And that's what most people in recruiting business, that's where they mess up, is they get other people doing stuff and they shut down the fire that started the inferno. And then the other fires burn out and they didn't tend to their own fire and now nobody has a fire. That's what happens most of the time. Versus, I'm going to keep my bonfire going hot and all y'all just come warm yourself up by it when you need to. That was my mentality, right? And we did that by becoming self-sufficient people. Okay, so standards, 80% complete or conversion on a call, 70% conversion any other way, text or messenger or some other electronic mode. I still do believe it is best, Angie, to try to get people's info and get on the phone with them. The reason that I feel that that is best, even though most people don't like to do that, and you can start your convos online all you want. And if you're good and you can set online, that's great. If you're below 70, I would consider getting the number. Here's why. It's too easy for people to go dark on you electronically. You go, hey, as far as us getting together, what's better this day, no answer. That's just too easy. Versus if they're on the phone with you, unless they're like a scheme pro and they're like, oh, sorry, you break it. Right? Like, unless they're playing like evasive prospect level 10, like you're gonna be able to at least address their concern and not let them go dark on you. Okay, everybody following that? Okay, so you should do this before noon. You should have the time blocked out. Those are your ratios. You should be following a script that you trust. That script should be well built. We will next week go through some of that script. Okay, I'm going to give you mine. I had 3. I had agent scripts, client scripts, business owner scripts, which were just client scripts, but to a different demographic. I only had 3. Every prospect that I could possibly meet, I had divvied into those 3 categories, and I had 3 scripts. I didn't need 10 scripts. I just needed those 3. For our practical intents and purposes, we only need 2. We need a client script and we need a business owner script. That's where all the immediate money is sitting. Okay. And so we're going to learn those. You can listen, y'all already make money in this business. Y'all already probably have stuff that you use here. If your scripts work great, I love it. Don't change, right? Keep your scripts the same. But what I want you to get from mine is I want you to get the thinking behind them, the wordsmithing, and why things are there. Okay, so you can work your scripts. You can take stuff from mine and put them in your scripts. You can just steal mine verbatim. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you have a repeatable script that works really well, right? If you got to do a lot of changing all the time, that's going to be very hard to duplicate. Okay, and you're going to have a lot better back end knowledge. You're going to, what scripts do is they frame. Okay, so Robert, what that means is what you're going to see, if you give them my script, there's 5 objections you're going to get. And that's it. You're never going to get anything other than that because the scripting doesn't allow for unlimited trains of thought. It focuses people in a really narrow universe. And because of that, I just need to teach myself or my guys 5 things instead of 500 things that people might say, right? Does that make sense? So you want to have a process that you know works well, that you trust well, that's simple and easy, and that you can dig into. So if we haven't already put it out there, we're going to put our scripts out there for you to listen to. You can read them, you can transcribe them. I want you to really absorb them. And again, I don't need you to change anything if you're comfortable with your scripting. But I do need you to understand why our scripting works so well and some of the benefits long-term upstream that sort of thinking in your engineering of what you're saying to people matters and why it's so valuable. Okay, so what you're going to learn here, Paul, is like all these little nuances, they all work together to create something that's really profitable and really duplicatable, right? Okay, so what's your homework? You're starting your KPIs and your Google Docs. Okay, they need to be done every day. We're setting at least 3 personally generated team sets. If you have teams, are extra. We're getting 6. You're going to listen to the Rick said we haven't dropped it. Yeah, you can go ahead and drop it. We're going to listen to the 1,000 names list. We're going to listen to the scripting. Okay, and we're just going to start diving into some of this. Here's the only other thing I want you to do. I want you to decide that June's going to be your greatest month ever. Okay. So what I need you to post into the Telegram group, in addition to the picture of your calendar, is I need you to post your all-time personal premium and securities records. What's the most you've ever done in a month in both of those? And we're going to beat both of them handsomely this month. Okay. So let's figure out what they are. Let's put them out there. Some of you might be very low. Some of you might be very high. It don't matter. All of you if you listen to me, you are going to beat those records this month. Okay, it's gonna happen. Period. The only way that doesn't happen, Jen, is if you decide, I'm not going to do what this guy's telling me. I know I like making money and stuff, but I'm just not going to do it. Okay. That's the only way you don't get this done. So everybody knows the homework. If you have questions, reach out to Rick, reach out to me, utilize the group, make some friends, get some accountability partners. The more, the merrier. God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.